Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Radio, Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining me. Whether you're listening on the live broadcast via 96.5 FM The Answer out of Little Rock, or on the live stream at 96.5fmtheanswer.com, or if you're listening delayed via Krypton Radio, or the podcast, or even on YouTube. I put this up on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/GoShanePlays. Whether you're listening to any of those methods, I'm so glad you're here. Got another cool show today. We've got a returning guest who I'm really glad to have back to get even more exciting news and updates on their excellent Villains and Vigilantes role-playing game. That's right. We've got Jeff D and Jack Herman again from Monkey House Games. Guys, are you on the phone there?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay.
Jeff.
Jeff. Well, I see it looks like Jack's on the line, but I've got like a red thing on his. Can you bring him in? Anyway, while GL does that, I'm going to keep doing the show notes. I know that we've got Jack on the line, but for some reason he's not brought in on the board, even though he was a moment ago. So hang tight, Jeff. We'll get right back with you guys, and I'm glad you're with us today. So don't forget that show notes and links are always up on the blog at shaneplays.com. That's ShanePlays.com. And so as you're listening to the show, whether you're listening live or you're listening pre-recorded, you can go there and be like, hey, what were they talking about? Or I want to know more about their links or whatever. Then you can go to the show notes at shaneplays.com. And the show does go out as a podcast, usually 2 or 3 days after the show, on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, other fine podcast directories. And it also goes out, like I said, on YouTube at youtube.com/GoShanePlays. And finally, last but not least, Shane Plays is also carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi, kryptonradio.com. In fact, we're going to do one of their news items today, and they got picked up by the Daily Mail over in the United Kingdom, so that's pretty exciting. Before we get to the news and before we talk with Jack and Jeff, and we do have Jack. Jack, are you there with us now?
Yes, I am. Thanks.
Yay! Hey, man, it's good to have you. I saw that you phased out into an alternate universe for a second, but now you're back. So you're gaining control.
I am.
You're gaining control of your powers. Already said hi to Jeff. Thanks so much again, Jack, for coming back on. Looking forward to some exciting.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, looking forward to some exciting updates with the Villains and Vigilantes game and product line, which now has this exciting Mighty Protectors multiverse. I'm excited to hear about that. Yeah. So
yes.
All right, let me throw out some love on one of our sponsors real quick. And then, guys, what I'm doing, I don't think y'all have done this with me on my show before, but I'm starting, and I really enjoy it. My guests usually enjoy it. I'm having my guests sort of hang out during the news segment instead of calling in after the news. So you guys, when we go through these news items, you are more than welcome to comment, banter like your life depends on it. You can be a narrator. You can be like, meanwhile, with the next news item, ... whatever you guys want to do. So, but I'm going to throw out some love on our Kickstarter, or one of our sponsors right now. I mentioned this last week that it was coming. It's live now. Troll Lord Games, Castles Crusades and Amazing Adventures and other stuff that they put out. Show sponsor, they have a new Kickstarter, the Hallowed Oracle. Troll Lord Games has partnered with Shane Moore of Abyss Walker fame, which Abyss Walker is a series of novels, to bring even more Castles and Crusades, an all-new adventure series complete with new classes, spells, and monsters. And that's linked on the show notes at shaneplays.com, or you can just go to Kickstarter and search for the Hallowed Oracle. So let me just make sure, Jeff, you still with us there, buddy?
I'm still here.
I love it. Okay, so guys, we're going to do the news segment, and we're not going to take a whole lot of time on this because I want to make sure to talk about Monkey House Games and Villains and Vigilantes. But we're going to do a quick news segment. Like I said, feel free to comment, positively, negatively, whatever. Tell questions, comments, war stories. I don't care. Your input is welcome. GL, why don't you fire up the microphone in the newsroom and see if those guys there they go. Oh yeah, they're working hard. So guys, I grew up I was born in the 70s, and so to me, it's not a newsroom if there's not a typewriter. Can I get an amen on that? There's got to be a typewriter, right, for it to really be a newsroom.
Sure.
Yeah, got to have those typewriters going. So anyway, all right. So here we go. First news item, and this is it's interesting, but it's sad. Okay, so there's this Pokemon Go game out there right now. That it's an app. It's a free app for iPhones and Androids, and it's basically Pokemon, but in augmented reality. So you run around in the real world and you catch Pokemon and you battle them. And
yes, that's right.
Yeah, and it's blowing up.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Oh, do you have it? Do you have Pokemon Go?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've got it.
It's taking the world by storm.
It is. That's my producer,
Right.
GL. I found and conquered my first gym yesterday. That's right. St. Luke's Episcopal Church belongs to the yellow team, folks. That's all I want to say. So, what about you, Jeff? Or have you joined a team yet?
Yes, and my spouse and I have located the closest nearby gym, and we're making plans.
Ah, it's exciting. So, what about you, Jack? Are you caught in the Pokemon Go storm?
I'm not really caught in the Pokemon Go story. I've heard interesting things about this Team Rocket, though, but that's another story.
That is another story. Yeah. So basically, the reason I'm playing it is because I work with like 3 people that I work with are like half my age, and they were all Pokemon. So I checked it out. I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty neat. And what's neat about it is they took a lot of information from the Ingress game, which was a previous augmented reality game, and they've ported that over. And are using that information for the interesting hotspots in Pokemon Go. But, and of course, it encourages you to get out and explore, right? Because it's like, hey, go over to this neighborhood or go to this downtown or go here or go wherever and find Pokemon and discover gyms and all that stuff. Well, Jeff, did you see this news story about the Wyoming teen? In Wyoming, she was playing Pokemon Go and she found a body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that when the game came out, people all over Facebook were immediately predicting, like, it won't be long until the first kid walks out into traffic and gets themselves killed. But no, the first big news story was this.
Yeah, they found she evidently hopped a fence.
Creepy in a completely different way.
Totally creepy. Yeah. Well, I mean, it just shows what happens when you encourage people to get out and interact with the environment. So hopefully people are being smart and safe. Which, as we know, sometimes mobile phones or smartphones and masses of people at the same time do not always equal smart and safe. But yeah, they found she was in Wyoming. She got out, I think, jumped a fence, went into like a watery area and found a body with a partial body sticking up out of the water. So I see a lot of Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so that wasn't part of the game? That wasn't like some viral marketing thing? It was...
This is a real body.
Yeah, I sincerely hope it's not viral. No, she literally found a body, and that otherwise would not have been discovered probably, or at least not this soon, if she hadn't have been out. And that's courtesy KQ or KTVQ is where I found the news story, and it's linked on shaneplays.com. But it's all over the place. I mean, just search for Pokemon Go body, and I guess she was kind of freaked out, which who can blame her? But I guess she's all right now. But that'd be pretty freaky. So, anyway, so I feel sorry. I've seen a lot of jokes cracked about it. Somebody's dead here. So I don't want to make light of it, but it is definitely when, I mean, it's weird. Augmented reality meets real life and you find a body, so I doubt this is the first story like this that will come along. And like you said, Jeff, I hope that we don't see a lot of stories of, people, getting run over by traffic. I've already seen people tweeting like, I literally had to run across the street to get this Pokemon and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm sure this will not be the last Pokemon Go story we hear. Now, guys, on your Facebook page, you often post news of the weird. So if you haven't already posted this one, I think you're going to want to. Have you seen this real life Russian Batman who's cleaning up Moscow?
No, that I haven't seen, Jack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's...
No.
There's a guy, and they've got grainy footage of him. He's literally... Now, it's either an incredibly elaborate hoax, which I hope it's not, or it's really a guy dressed up like Batman running around beating up criminals. Like, he goes and beats up criminals, and then he calls the police and tells them where they're at. And he's got a Twitter account, and he asks people to send him tips. on where he can find criminals. So I'm not making this up. Like, it's being reported like it's real. So, it could be an elaborate hoax, but evidently, like, even the police have made statements, and evidently there's been some real arrests come out of this. So
we've had so-called real-life superheroes running around all over the place for quite some time, but most of them have the good sense to, stick with, helping the homeless and
right.
Much less hands-on things than it sounds like this guy is into.
Yeah, there's actually a documentary out there. I think it's called Superheroes, where they follow, several of them, and most of them are just trying to raise visibility on issues or doing good or whatever. But this guy is literally running around beating people up and then calling the police. And they have this grainy footage. Go to shameplays.com and it's linked there. And this is from Krypton Radio, who my show also runs delayed on their website. It's an internet radio station. And they reported it. And then the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom found it off of there, and reported it off of them. So the story's spreading around. But yeah, it's totally crazy. There's actually grainy footage, like a taxi driver took this footage of somebody walking out of a building, dressed like Batman, and literally dropping like a smoke bomb, and then kind of disappearing into the shadows. So I'm not making this up. So
a smoke bomb.
Yeah, like a flare or a smoke bomb or something like that.
Grainy footage of a smoke bomb, though. So that could have been anything.
Well, no, you do see. I don't know. It's just this guy. Let's see what he calls himself. Calls himself Janek, Jnec, Grim Reaper. The masked vigilante who wears a Batman costume calls him Janek, and I guess Janek is Russian. I don't know. He's not the first real life superhero. But he's been busy. Just like his comic book counterpart, the Russian Batman has been beating up drug dealers at night and leaving them behind for the police to collect. In a letter to a local newspaper, which he also sent to the local police, the man has asked police to help him, quote unquote, root out evil by sending him tips via Twitter. And he has a Twitter account, JNEC Reaper. You don't know me, and it is unlikely you've heard about me, Reaper writes in his letter. I call myself Reaper, and for the past 6 months, I've been struggling with a disease that has long been plaguing our society, crime. I fight drug dealers, rapists, and gangs. I don't kill or cripple, and I'm not against the police or authorities, but I do root out evil that the police and the authorities can't reach. So there you go. This will either turn out to be some crazy guy who really is doing this or some elaborate hoax. So do you guys want to make a bet either way?
No.
Yeah. I mean, we have so many real life superheroes now, and you've got our American culture of superhero movies, comics is exported all over the world. It's kind of put that idea in so many people's heads,
right?
All of the human race, basically. So I guess it's no surprise that since we see some of that here, that it's going into other countries.
Right. Well, it's and it's going to find if you're running out trying to be the Punisher or Batman and going after drug dealers, you're going to find out that there's a suspension of disbelief reading comic books for a reason. I mean, he's going to end up hurt, or dead, or even in the comic books, they acknowledge when you raise the crazy, the bad guys raise the crazy, right? So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, I'll just finish here. A taxi driver witnessed a man dressed as Batman entering a building that later proved to be a drug den in the middle of the night. He told police that he soon started hearing people screaming and things being this isn't funny, but it is, and being thrown around inside. The mysterious man then walked out, threw some sort of firebomb at the ground, and disappeared into the night. A few minutes later, law enforcement arrived at the scene, entered the building, and walked out with 2 men in handcuffs. So I don't know. We'll see. All right. But that's definitely some news of the weird right there. I actually thought, I was like that. I'm surprised if I don't see this on the Village of Vigilantes Facebook page before too long.
Well, the things we post on our Facebook page are things from real life that GMs of superhero RPGs might be able to use for inspiration. And, there's a guy in Russia who doesn't have any powers, who goes around dressed as Batman. It's not really huge news in a world that's already full of real superheroes.
All right. Okay. That's fair enough. I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to go to his Twitter feed and see what his Twitter, he says, when I served in the special forces in the hot spot, my commander always told me that even one warrior can turn the tide of the war. And his next tweet says, many years later, I agree with him. I'll change it. So I don't know. This could all end up being some elaborate hoax. Go ahead.
You got to admit, that's impressive, though, that he actually went to that drug house and came out alive. That's impressive.
If it's true. If it's true, it's impressive. But it's going to end up being like, what was that movie? Was it Kick-Ass, where the first time the guy went out, he got ran over by a car and beat up? I mean, Yeah, this is the real world. So anyway, okay. Moving on with some more Batman news. And we spent a lot of time on that news item, so I'll speed up the rest because I definitely want to talk about the V&V updates. Of course, the Batman The Killing Joke animated movie is coming. And I'm excited about it. I really am. But one thing that I myself and other people have questioned is, like, why are they doing that art style? Because the Killing Joke graphic novel had such a distinctive art style from, if I remember right, was that not Brian Boland? Yeah, and it was very distinctive. So part of the attraction of the Killing Joke graphic novel was the art. It was just really, hard to define. I mean, Brian Boland's amazing, and he captured a certain mood and tone. And then, of course, the coloring was very important. In fact, I think originally it was colored incorrectly, and they reissued later versions that had the correct coloring. So there's a trailer out, and I don't know, is Jeff and Jack, do y'all both monitor your Facebook page? Or I know I sent a link via the message, so one of y'all might have already seen this. But I'm actually I'm actually kind of bummed out because a fan took the Batman The Killing Joke trailer and they reanimated it using the art style from the graphic novel. And it looks, in my opinion, amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And then there's another trailer where they show you, and I've got both these links at shaneplays.com, where they show you the frame and the panel of the comic book, and then they show you the trailer that Warner Brothers is putting out, and then they show you, by comparison, the trailer that the fan did. And it just really shows the difference. So I know there's a whole art and business and all this behind animated movies. So there could be very good reasons why they went with the art style they did. But I have to say, I'm bummed after seeing this fan trailer and comparing, like, oh, I wish they would have done it that way. So have either of you guys seen this fan trailer with redrawn in the graphic novel style, or are you looking forward to the Killing Joke animated movie? Do you have any comments on it?
Jack, you're the huge Batman fan.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the thinking was they wanted it to look more similar to the other DC animated stuff they've put out, so it's not so jarringly different. So that's kind of what they did. But yeah, I kind of noticed that too. I mean, I'm definitely on board. I definitely want to check this out. I mean, just for the voices that are doing it and everything.
Exactly. It's going to be good.
Not to miss. But yeah, I was a little surprised they didn't have more Brian Boland in there. But I'm not really sure what that involves. Right. If that was a rights to the likenesses that he portrayed issue, or just them deciding that they didn't want to have a whole bunch of animated movies and then one where everything looked very different.
Right.
They wanted to kind of keep them all in the same tone. Maybe, I don't know.
That's a good perspective on it. My thought is, you do want to have a unified sort of art style, for movies but the Killing Joke stands apart, so in my mind, it would have been okay if it would have had a radically different art style. But I'm sure it'll be good. And, they've added to the story for the movie version. They've expanded on Batgirl's role. I think they're doing that because in the graphic novel back in the 80s, when Barbara Gordon gets shot, everybody, oh, that's Batgirl. And I guess they're thinking maybe some people who are watching the movie may not realize the importance of Barbara Gordon and Batgirl. So they've kind of expanded her role, I guess, to give her more weight, for when she gets shot. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big nerd. I'll check it out and I'll love it no matter what, I'm sure. But yeah, seeing the graphic novel style animation, I wept a little bit inside for what could have been. So yeah, I'll survive. So here we go. Now, do you guys still? I know you love Villains, Vigilantes, and you love role playing games and all that. Do y'all still stay current with with current comics and what's going on in the industry?
More or less.
Sort of.
All right. So did you see the Harvey Awards nominations this year?
That I have not.
Okay.
Jack?
Did you see them, Jack?
I knew they came out. I hadn't had a chance to catch up to see who got nominated.
Okay, so the Harvey Awards, as you know, but I'll explain to anybody listening who doesn't, they are the industry professional nominated and voted awards for the comic book industry. So if you're a comic book professional or if you're in the industry, then you can both, I think, nominate and vote, if that's correct. I'm pretty sure that's correct. It's not just like fan awards. But anyway, Valiant Comics, listen to this, has more Harvey Awards nominations than Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, Boom, and IDW put all together.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I think Valiant's putting out some pretty cool stuff these days. And I got to tell you, I'm reading more and more books from IDW lately. I'm really impressed with what IDW is doing. They're doing some really impressive stuff, because a lot of times it's easy to kind of phone in licensed material, but they're doing some really good stuff. But Valiant, yeah, so a lot of people, I don't know if this is true or not, but the spin they're putting on it is that Valiant, employees went the extra effort to to put in their stuff for nomination. So I don't know if that's the case here or not, but it's pretty, because it's a huge staggering number that they got. So are you guys reading any Valiant stuff right now?
I only kind of intermittently follow stuff through trades, and
right.
I do get to the stores once in a while, but I certainly know a lot of the stuff they've done, and they certainly have done great stuff. It's kind of weird when these award shows kind of fall into that whole thing like the Oscars do, where there's active campaigning to get
right.
the awards, and there's questions about voting blocks and trying to win them over and things like that. So I guess I'm not surprised that the comics have become a big enough deal that people have noticed these awards enough to try to. I don't want to throw around words like the kind of game the system, but obviously if you want nominations, that's one of the ways you do it. You
right.
get your employees to go out there and make sure you have nominations or votes, I guess.
Yeah, and that could be here. I don't know. Jack, do you have a perspective on it?
What that was, Jack? You mean me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Jeff,
Yeah.
do you have a perspective on it?
Well, I think that we're in the internet era, and not everybody has got their marketing engines up to speed on using that properly. And I'll bet you anything next year, all the other companies will put out a strong effort to make sure their stuff is listed on the ballot. So
yeah. Well, just to give you an idea,
this is an aberration, right?
Yeah, that's what everybody's kind of assuming. Not that Valiant isn't putting good stuff out; they are, but
right.
they
just to talk about the number of the percentage of their titles that got in.
Yeah, well, just to give you an idea of the comparison. So Valiant got 50 nominations, and in comparison, Boom had 15, Dark Horse had 5, IDW had 4, Image had 11, Marvel had 10, and DC had 3. Add those up, and that's 48, which is 2 fewer than Valiant. But anyway, moving on. I thought that was kind of interesting. But moving on, and this is something that is continuing the awards trend. The 2016 Any Award nominees from Ian World are up, and public voting is from July 11th through July 21st, and that's Ian World. Of course, they do their big awards. It's kind of like the Oscars of RPGs, I guess. It's kind of a loose analogy, and I think they usually announce the winners at Gen Con. So those the ballot is up. The link is on Shane Plays, and I certainly hope and to see some Villains of Vigilantes product on the list next year, fellas. So it's a pretty diverse list, and there's some pretty good stuff on there. So with some of these new announcements you have, I hope we get to see some Any Award nominees for you next year. So that would.
It's tough for a small company that doesn't have that isn't one of the top companies that has wide distribution to get noticed by a thing like that. But we will do our best.
Well, a lot of the stuff is nominated by the public, and you'd be surprised some of the stuff that gets nominated. It's not just dominated by the 800-pound gorillas. So, but anyway, I think the Ian World does a good job, doing news and reporting and these awards for role-playing games. So, people, if you're into RPGs, and I certainly hope you are, especially if you're listening today with Monkey House Games, go to the link on shaneplays.com and do your voting. And last, we'll end on a positive feel-good note. The YouTuber, I think, named The Game Theorist, or at least that's the show he puts out, met the Pope and gave him a copy of an indie RPG. So, indie RPG from Steam, gave him a Steam code to a game called Undertale. So, evidently, there was this guy, and this is linked on the show notes. The Pope wanted to meet with representatives of internet culture. And this guy was chosen as part of that. And I guess it's customary that you give the Pope a gift. And he said, well, and they said, it can represent, your culture or whatever. So he gave him a Steam code to the RPG game, indie RPG Undertale, and he said he thought it was appropriate because that game deals a lot with the themes of mercy. So anyway, there you go, a feel-good note. And I wonder if I got to give the over-under here that the Pope's probably not going to play it, but maybe one of his staff will. I don't know. Anyway, neat little story. When we come back, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to get an update on the real topic of the show today, Villains and Vigilantes role-playing game, the original complete role-playing system for superheroes, now in its third decade. So we're going to get an update from Jeff and Jack of Monkey House Games on the legal situation, what we've talked about before, and also what we can expect in the near future from Villains and Vigilantes right here on Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
Megawars.net.
The classic online space strategy game has returned, bigger and better than ever before. Scout the universe and claim your empire. Construct, customize, and launch dozens of different starships. Battle thousands of opponents online in a team-based competition leading to the ultimate Battle of the Galaxies. Grab your slot today for the only online game where tactics and strategy still reign supreme. Visit megawars.net and get options only available in our special pre-sales previews running now.
Megawars.net.
The die is cast. Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions, Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love. The lines are open. 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965 if you want to call in. Remember, this is live Geek Talk Radio. It does go out as a podcast later, and there's nothing wrong with podcasts. I love them very much, but it's also live radio. So if you're listening locally or online, you can call 501-823-0965. Whether you have a question or comment for me or my guest, Jeff D. and Jack Herman of Monkey House Games, Villains, Vigilantes. You can also tweet me at Shaneplays. That's ShanePlays. And I'll do my best to address your question or comment. So guys, we had, the news segment, all that stuff, but now let's talk Villains, Vigilantes. It's a topic that I know is close to my heart, and I definitely know that's close to yours. So I guess let's lead, just in case people don't know, you've reached a turning point in the legal situation that we've talked about a couple times on this show. And in fact, the last time you came on, this is, you had hoped to, be able to announce something, but you weren't quite to that point yet. So we talked about some other stuff, including Bill Willingham. Looks like he's going to be writing some modules for you, which is exciting. But yeah, so what's the update on the legal situation?
Well, the legal battle is over. There's been a settlement, and it's a done deal, and there's no longer anything to worry about there. And we're moving forward with new products and a third edition of the rules.
Okay, and as I understand it, both from us talking and also on your press release, the specific terms of the settlement are confidential, so we're not going to go into that. But the salient points are that you can now legally do your Villains and Vigilantes third edition and other products. Now, does that also allow you to reissue? Because I saw that you put out Crisis at Crusader Citadel. So I'm assuming that you can also reissue previous products.
We are republishing all of the material we wrote for V&V,
gotcha,
which includes the various rule books and also the flagship adventures, Crisis of Crusader Citadel and Most Wanted Volume 1, which it's not an adventure, it's a book of villains.
Right.
So that is all under the Monkey House banner at this time, and we're moving forward with that as the backbone of our V&V setting.
Okay, very cool. So, and I don't think I've gotten a chance to ask you this before, either of you. Why Monkey House? Where'd Monkey House come from? Is that just what it feels like to work in the RPG industry, or?
Jack, you want to explain this? Can we explain it? Is it explicable?
I'm not sure there's an actual explanation for it. I know that just in terms of spending too much time reading comic books, trying to come up with too many different ideas for origin stories for superheroes over the years. At one point, I think we used to joke that we were game designers raised by apes. That was just a joke we had. So, and that kind of eventually evolved over into the idea of Monkey House Games. So,
all right. So is it
when you approach any kind of new trademark, it's always a horrific slog through all of the ideas that are good but have already been taken until you fight your way past that to the few ideas left that haven't been taken.
All right,
we're very happy with Monkey House.
All right, so as Monkey House as a game development studio, if you will, do you think you're just going to stick to Villains and Vigilantes and related products, or do you see it branching out? What's your thoughts there?
We have got so much V&V on our plate right now. For now, that's what we're focusing on.
Okay. All right, and along those lines, you had a very exciting piece of information that you dropped last time that I want to follow up on. Is it still the plan that Bill Willingham is going to be writing a series of modules?
Well, he's written one for us that is going to be coming out at some point, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some other stuff with his name on it come out from our company. But really at this point, there are still some things that are up in the air about that.
I got you. Okay.
Bill is kind of semi-retired now, and really kind of works on projects based on just spur of the moment. Okay, this is what I feel like doing right now.
Right.
So we obviously can't hold him to a deadline, and obviously we just want to keep it an open invitation to participate in any way he wants.
Yeah, he's earned his right both in RPGs and in the comics industry to work on what he wants when he feels like it. So, but yeah,
Exactly.
Okay, I'm glad I clarified that then. So, because for some reason I was thinking it was a series of modules, but just one module, a new module from Bill Willingham that's exciting. So, in fact, I had mentioned the last time you were on, I tweeted out, I said, hey, Bill Willingham is, going to write some V&V. And I provided a link to a podcast, and he responded. He said, I tried to listen to it, but there were secret ads playing. And I went, what? And he said something about playing over the show. So I went to the website and I realized that there were Google ads running on the website that were doing audio. And I was like, so this makes it seem like that I'm trying to play secret ads or something like that. So I disabled those, so they're text only due to the sleuthing powers of Bill Willingham. So, but I'm definitely looking forward to that. Do you happen to have an idea of when his module might be out, or can you give us any details on it?
Well, everything. Sorry, go ahead. Oh no, you go ahead. Oh, we've just gone through several years of having to fight the legal battle, which put the brakes on everything that we were doing. I mean, that used up a bunch of our time and a bunch of our attention and a bunch of our enthusiasm, frankly.
Yeah.
And now that that's done, we are ready to move into third edition, and that raises all kinds of questions about, are we going to try to get some of the manuscripts that we have in house finished for V&V 2.1, or are we going to sit on those and release them when the third edition comes out? And we're juggling all these questions right now and trying to find the best path forward. And we will announce specific things the moment we're able to announce specific things.
Okay. Well, if it helps any, I know you're not looking for input specifically, but as a fan and a customer, I think it would be exciting for third edition to come with some exciting launch modules. That's just me.
Well,
yeah, that's just me.
That is absolutely a reasonable impulse.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, whenever it all comes out, I'll be excited. Now, third edition. You're finally clear. You're going to move forward with third edition. Do you have any idea? And I'm not trying to lock you down to a specific date or deadline, but do you have a general sense of when we may get our greedy little hands on it?
Our plan is to announce when the launch date for the Kickstarter is going to be this month.
Excellent.
And for that launch time not to be too far in the future after the announcement. And the work on the design of the thing is 90% done, right? It's a playable set of rules that we have been using in-house for a long, long time, right?
Right.
But it needs polish, right? It needs all those final passes to go through and make sure that everything, here's an ability. How does this work? Oh, we know how that works because we've been doing it, but did we write it down?
Right.
All that kind of stuff to make sure it's presented so that people who aren't us completely understand it. That's still ahead of us. The illustration part of it is all ahead of us, and writing the world material that's going to go in is all ahead of us. So that may sound like a lot. It's not terribly much, but there's still
it's polish, right? I mean, polish is very important. It seems like it's just an afterthought, but it can make or break the enjoyability of a game, right? So, but just if you happen to need a play tester, I might know one or two, but I'm just saying.
I think we absolutely need to be bringing in outside play testers pretty soon.
All right.
And we have gotten volunteers, and
send us an email to remind us.
Yeah, sure.
We'll put you in the folder.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And
so, yeah.
you know, we know that, but we don't want to send it out to outside playtesters until at least it's polished to the point where you can read it and make some sense of it. And we're very close to being there.
All right, fair enough. So and speaking of reminders, definitely drop me a Kickstarter or a line when your Kickstarter goes live, and I'll support it, I'll promote it, and I'm scheduled out for like the next 6 weeks, but sometimes what I do is let people who have Kickstarters pop on for like 5 minutes right at the beginning of the show and announce it, or just say, hey, here's what we're doing. So if you guys want to come back on, briefly when you're, I'd love to have you on. I'm a fan. I want to help you guys out. So I'm really glad that the legal situation resolved. So
cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. So, okay. So you got third edition coming.
And just one thing we want to let everybody know that we're tired of numbers on our games. So third edition is actually going to have is going to have a name. It will be Villains and Vigilantes Mighty Protectors. Mighty Protectors Edition in honor of our original superhero team, the Protectors, that people have heard about and seen little glimpses of through the published games and modules that we've done over the years. But we're moving them front and center for the new edition.
All right, so the Mighty Protectors. In fact, I think I saw a logo that said the Mighty Protectors Multiverse, if I remember right.
Yeah, we're branding our setting, the Mighty Protectors Multiverse, featuring the Protectors, the Crusaders, the Indestructibles, all the characters that Jack and I have created and published for Villains and Vigilantes. All that stuff that is our setting.
Okay.
And the third edition rules will be focused on our setting.
Okay. Now is the Mighty Protectors Multiverse also going to incorporate Living Legends?
Yeah, Living Legends has always taken place in the same universe as everything else. So it's just a different set of rules, a different approach to doing the mechanics.
Okay, very cool. All right.
Yeah.
So let's do this. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, I want to find out from you guys what the most exciting mechanic or whatever, what you're happiest about with the Mighty Protectors version of VNV, and maybe talk a little bit about the business. I was going to ask you about the business side of RPGs anyway, and you kind of touched on that earlier when we talked about the Any Awards. You're like, we're a smaller company and da-da-da. So I'd like to, if we have time, get a little bit of insight on that. But we'll be right back after a short break on Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love.
And now it's time to give a little love to one of our sponsors. Some Goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers, mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, The story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
Megawars.net.
The classic online space strategy game has returned, bigger and better than ever before. Scout the universe and claim your empire. Construct, customize, and launch dozens of different starships. Battle thousands of opponents online in a team-based competition leading to the ultimate Battle of the Galaxies. Grab your slot today for the only online game where tactics and strategy still reign supreme. Visit megawars.net and get options only available in our special pre-sales previews running now.
Megawars.net.
The die is cast. Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles Crusades role-playing game from Troll Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trolllord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions, Castles Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trolllord.com to get your copy of Castles Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
Welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into things we love. I'm joined again, so happy to have them with an update that's full of just positive news moving forward with Jeff D and Jack Herman of Monkey House Games. They've reached a settlement where they can legally proceed forward with all their plans for the game. There's a new version coming. Instead of V&V 3, it's going to be Villains and Vigilantes Mighty Protectors universe, which I think is cool. I think that's a neat way of doing it to distinguish it. And then, they've got some cool stuff in the hopper, like modules and stuff ready to come. And they're like, hey, are we going to release this under 2.1 or were they going to release it under Mighty Protectors? So they're still working on that. And we've got a Kickstarter coming. So, very excited about that. So the Kickstarter, for companies like yours, Jack and Jeff, and I know Stephen Chenault and Todd Gray, those guys over at Troll Lord Games, they're right here in Little Rock, and they do Kickstarters all the time. They don't do these huge major; they do small Kickstarters along the way, and it's really a vital part of their business plan, and it works. So, what is it like? You guys have a ton of experience in this industry, and you've seen it change, but you're still, you say, hey, we're kind of a small company. What is it like business-wise to try to get a product out there and get eyeballs on it?
Oh, well, it's all about social media now. There's not really magazines it used to be all about get your ad in magazines and show up at game conventions. And conventions are still important, but the magazines are pretty much gone. So now it's all about, getting your press releases out to the main gaming websites and just getting your stuff noticed in, on Facebook and Google Plus and
right,
all those places.
Well, you do a good job with your Facebook page. The News of the Weird is a good idea, because it brings me there pretty often. So, is it? And
Jack's music segments too. Don't forget those.
Yeah, those too.
So
The superhero related music on the weekends. Yeah, or at least it seems like it usually breaks on the weekends. So, that stuff is great. Now, what? Okay, and I don't even know how to ask this, and I don't want you guys to talk about numbers that you may not want to talk about. What? How does it even work in the role playing game industry? Because there's obviously okay, market share and this and you say, okay, 2 years from now we want this many customers? I mean, how do you know if you're successful? Is it just you're keeping the doors open, or do you have a target number? I have no idea how it works.
Well, Jack, do you want to talk about this? I'd be happy to.
Well, I mean, the role-playing game, I mean, like the pencil and paper role-playing thing isn't enough to, I guess, I don't know. This is, we're not successful enough that this is like our primary method of income or things, but
right.
It is something that's really important to us. It's something that obviously we've been doing since we were in high school, and we're kind of feeding them all the time and energy and resources we can to keep it going. And the response to it has been tremendous. So, yeah. Apart from that, I'm not really sure what.
All right.
It used to, I've been in this industry for so long, right? I mean, when it started, it was these little fly-by-night tiny companies that somehow sold enough stuff to be in business, and then it developed into just a few, really huge companies, and everybody else having trouble doing anything. And now we seem to have broken through into this new place where print on demand and PDF sales are so accessible to everyone that apart from the marketing clout that the big companies have and the distribution, the store distribution that the big stores that the big companies have an easier time getting, apart from that, it's almost a level playing field.
Yeah, you have access to almost the same channels now.
So we're like Jack said, we're not making enough money for Monkey House Games to be our sole profession, but we consider ourselves successful as long as we keep growing.
Okay.
Because if we keep growing, we will eventually get to a better place.
Okay.
So it's certainly. We're successful enough that we consider it not a waste of our time by any stretch of the imagination, and so we'll keep at it until we get to where we can get to.
Well, that's interesting. See, I didn't know. I just assumed that you guys, this was, make it or bust. It's like this is your thing. So, but I'm glad you're doing it because I'm so glad to have the game back and in new versions and that sort of thing. Real quick, we got about 2 minutes left here before I wrap the show. I wanted to ask if each of you. If you just had to say one thing that each of you are the most excited about the new edition coming out, what would it be? So we'll start with you, Jeff, and then go to you, Jack. Jeff, just, like 30 seconds or so. What is, like if somebody put a gun to your head and said, you have to pick one thing you're most excited about, what's that one thing?
I know. Take the gun away. I don't need that.
Okay. All right.
So I totally love our new vehicle rules. And I hope I haven't ranted about this already on your show.
You did, but that's okay.
In earlier editions of V&V, there were a lot of abilities that were extremely open-ended. It was just like, make up a thing that's a vehicle, and you have that, right? And you work with your GM, and you just make it all up, and there were no guidelines to go by whatsoever. The new game has this wonderfully simple, intuitive, functional mechanism for building your vehicles that simultaneously establishes what the abilities of those vehicles are and lays out your floor plans of your vehicle. So if you make it like a big enough thing, it could be like, your team's starship that you'll get in and fly to other planets in it. Right?
Yeah, you mentioned before,
and things.
How excited you were about that. All right.
That's my favorite point by far.
Okay, cool. How about you, Jack? And I hate to cut you off there, Jeff, but for the sake of time, well, what about you, Jack? What's your most exciting thing?
Just that overall, despite all the changes we brought to it, the heart and soul of what you loved about the game originally is all still there. And just a little simple thing that we brought back, is just the idea of types of origins and like motivations for characters are part of the rules again. So in a lot of ways, if you've been playing for a long time, even if you looked at some of the stuff from the original version, which we...
Hey, I hate to cut you off there, man. We're out of time. Yep. Thanks, guys.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.